Hey friends, this is Caitlin and welcome to the Stride Sisters podcast. On this week's episode, we'll be kicking it off by introducing ourselves. Who are we? Why are we doing this? Why do we love Disney? And so much more. Lace up your shoes and step into the magic with us.
Hey guys, this is Hannah. Like Caitlin said, we're going to be introducing ourselves this week. So I'll be keeping us on topic, hopefully, and asking the questions. We're going to get started with all of our names, so you know who each of us are and what we do in real life. So, Natalie, you want to kick us off with your 9 to 5?
Sure. I'm Natalie. I am a bean counter in my day-to-day life. Live out in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm an accountant out here.
And Caitlin?
So my name's Caitlin. I'm currently living in Kentucky, just outside of Louisville, and I'm a professional babysitter of adolescent children, aka I'm a high school teacher.
And I am Hannah. What am I? I'm an engineer. We make paper at my company, and it's very exciting. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And we're super excited to kick off this podcast with you guys.
So basically, you work at the Dunder Mifflin of Atlanta, Georgia.
Yep, pretty much. Except for I would not be anyone featured on that because everyone in that show is like a salesperson or like a business person. I would be the person I still might be in the corporate office, probably in a different building, talking to the people actually making the paper. So
I'd be Kevin.
You'd be Kevin?
That's my chosen accountant.
I would like to know what your skills are for making chili then.
Ask me in about 4 to 6 months. And that's when it's chili season up here. I mean, it's always chili season if you're brave enough, but that's when it's my personal chili season.
Well, since we're talking about running and Run Disney on this podcast, I thought it would be apropos for us to discuss our previous athletic background. Have we always been runners? Have we done grammar? Have we done other things? What's the story? Caitlin, you want to go first?
Sure. Okay. So no, I have not always been a runner. I think I started running in 2019, just before the pandemic started. But before that, I was always a swimmer, like you guys, and started swimming when I was about 8 or 9, maybe, competitively. And then in high school, I also played golf, which now I'm not a golfer. I maybe try to golf once a year, but I'm over that quota so far this summer. Been golfing a lot lately.
Maybe golf was your transition into land sports.
I think so. Yeah. Oh, I actually started rock climbing too. Been rock climbing a few times this summer. So that's been really, fun. Really cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Natalie?
So I come from a long-standing line of running as a punishment in my youth. My primary sport growing up actually was Irish dancing, and I did that for about 10 years. Transitioned to swimming in high school when I was looking for something to do. Had a run-in with cross country actually before my freshman year of high school, where my brother was doing cross country at my high school. So I tried it. I did like summer running a couple times. Was not a fan of it. This is a theme. Went to swimming. Did try a year of cross country and track in high school where I had such a legendary track season where I went undefeated. aka I didn't compete at all because every track meet I was supposed to run in got rained out. And I wish I could say that fostered a good love of running and appreciation of it. I think I can appreciate what I did at the time, but I was back in the pool the next fall for my senior year. And running and I really didn't get along so well where I enjoyed swimming. I kind of kept up some swimming in college, played club water polo with Hannah for a little bit of that time, but running was never really actually a piece of that. Until my adult life. But I will cap that description for now. And Hannah, what about you?
Yeah, I wasn't always a runner either. Definitely a late bloomer to the running party. I started with dance, similarly, not Irish dance, just plain old basic ballet. And I did that for 13 years or something like that, like all the way until high school. I started when I was like infinitesimally tiny. I don't know. I don't remember. Probably like 2. Did that really long time. Had a brief stint with cheerleading, golf, many other things, I'm sure, throughout my middle school years. And then we moved, and that was like what changed for me. We moved to somewhere. I mean, we moved a lot growing up, don't get me wrong, but like this specific move, we moved to a studio and I hated it. And also high school is when you become like pre-professional, and I knew I wasn't going to be a professional dancer, not with these hips. And that was when I made the switch to swimming, because my parents were very like line in the sand, you must participate in a sport kind of people. So I joined swimming because there was no tryouts and it was the only team I could join. Since we moved so late in the summer, hated it, absolutely abhorred it actually. But my freshman year I wanted to quit like a couple weeks in. But my dad, we're not quitters, not allowed. But then I found water polo my sophomore year. And then I couldn't quit swimming because you gotta stay in shape for the sport you do care about. And that also was something how I feel about running sometimes, about cross training. But yeah, it stuck with that. Did water polo a little bit in college, not much else. And I found running post-college as an adult. So maybe we should all talk about how we found running then as adults. Natalie, you want to bounce it back?
Sure thing. As an adult, there were a couple times I might go on a jog here and there, but not really as much in my wheelhouse, other than, I go to the gym, do a little bit of cardio here and there, because I, at the time, was a little bit too chicken to go to a weight rack, because I didn't really know what I was doing. And
very relatable.
Yeah, I've learned a lot more now, and I'm more comfortable with standing my ground. Just I belong there as well. I'll grab my little weights and go on my merry way. But in the summer of 2019, I got a text message from, I'd say enabler number 1. And it was my cousin, one of my best friends, saying she was doing a race at Disney. And I was like, whoa, what's that? And she's like, yeah, I signed up for the Princess 10K down at Walt Disney World. I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. How do I sign up? And she told me, well, at the time, it had already sold out because registration had already passed. So I started looking into charity bibs, and I got a charity bib for my very first Run Disney race. And after, a grueling training schedule where I did not train super duper well, to be honest, I was hooked after that first race and went, oh, I can totally see myself doing this a little bit more. What's the next challenge? And, it's a half on the table. So that was for the 2020 Princess 10K, which occurred in February of 2020. As one can imagine, a couple plans after that derailed due to the, global world catching on fire. But I definitely learned that it was something that I was very intrigued by, and an experience that I knew I wanted to have again. So, Caitlin, how did you stumble upon running in your adulthood?
Well, that's a good question. My sister always ran track and cross country all through her middle school and high school years, and I was never a runner. But I did go to her cross country meets, and I was like, this is kind of cool. These kids are super nice, and why didn't I do this in high school? And then my aunt, I feel like I'm going to talk about my aunt a lot, but she started doing Run Disney races in 2017 maybe, and she did a marathon at Disney World in 2018. She didn't like her marathon time, and so she decided, I'm going to sign up for the Dopey Challenge in 2019. She crushed it. She PR'd in her marathon by, I think it was like 18 minutes, something like that. And that year, 2019, she was like, everybody should view Run Disney races. They're just so amazing. And so she signed up me and my sister to do the Star Wars race in April of 2020. And of course, that did not pan out very well. And so she said, okay, I'm going to sign you guys up for the marathon weekend in January of 2021. That also did not go very well. We were going to do the half marathon for Star Wars, and then we were going to do the half marathon weekend. And then, so we finally ended up doing a Run Disney weekend. It was Springtime Surprise in 2022. And she felt really bad because they were supposed to be Christmas presents for like years. So she signed us up for 2 races for each of us. We did the 10K and the 10 miler. And at that point, I was very much hooked on running, and I had done some 5Ks and some 10Ks by myself, and so I was like, yeah, this is really cool. So yeah, now I'm just in it, and I really want to run, even though I hate running, and I just got done with physical therapy after that injury from your bachelorette weekend from this past princess in February 2024.
Well, we're super happy that you're healed at least.
Oh, yes,
Caitlin.
Me too.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I think I've been told that I have the hips of an 80-year-old. So, I know. My physical therapist said that I have the hips of an 80-year-old woman. So, that's really fun.
Wow.
I know. He's basically, every physical therapy session is just him roasting me. So he told me that I technically graduated. I still have one more session left. So that'll be fun. But yeah, I'm basically done.
We love physical therapy here.
We really do.
Big proponents of
huge fan of physical therapy.
Hopefully
literally everyone should go.
Yeah. And do all your exercises so that you don't get hurt in the first place. But
yes,
we love a physical therapist. Yeah.
They are really great people. They're super funny. They're great to work with. Every session is so fun. And then it's also nice because it's just that like competitiveness coming out again where they give you a new exercise and you're like, okay, I have to master this now. And then there's somebody else like kind of right next to you probably doing something similar and you're like, okay, I need to be better than them at this exercise. Oh, my hips just cracked. That's me with my 80-year-old hips right now.
Well, I do not have 80-year-old hips. I have, I think there's a movie, I don't even remember what it's called. Dark Shadows, I think. And in there they talk about how birthing hips are very sexy. And I think that's like,
what?
I know, such an odd comment, but I have very like wide hips. That's my point. We can cut that.
No.
We're keeping
People
that.
need to get the visual.
Yep. So yeah, we're ready for everything. And I found running during the great big global fire, as we're putting it, I guess. Running had always been like the punishment, the thing I had to do for other things that I just put up with. And then I had been like super into hot yoga post-college, pre-finding running, and the big fire happened and didn't particularly want to be in a tiny, hot, humid room breathing on other people during that time. So I decided, I live in the South. It's hot and humid anyways. I can be outside and get the same experience. So I picked up running, and I would still say it was pretty like meh. It was good because like it made me feel better to exercise, but I wouldn't say I like loved it till then. I was kind of on and off relationship with running until I started seeing Natalie posting on social media with all of her race photos from her love of Run Disney, and I got jealous. For those that don't know, Natalie and I are sorority sisters, and I am her big sister. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to learn from me, but I'll take it. I learned something from you. And that's running. Yeah, you were like, you're posting the finish line. It just looked really fun. I had never associated running with fun, and I was like, why not give it a shot? I hadn't been on a vacation in years at this point, and my boyfriend and I had just like moved in together, and I just decided I wanted to do it one morning, called you at the office to make it happen. Like the morning of a registration, I decided I wanted to do this with like no pre-planning. Natalie, as a goddess, helped me make it happen. And once I had a goal, that's when I found that I really loved running. Was like, I love the Run Disney experience, and training for Run Disney and finding Jeff Galloway taught me that running didn't have to be painful, that I could run slow. And that was when it finally like clicked. So Natalie was my inspiration, and Jeff Galloway, I guess, was the reason that I no longer think it sucks, along with Disney magic. Yeah.
Same but different. In a lot of the ways.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. We all have our own ways that we found running, but I think the Disney magic is what makes us or helps us keep coming back to run Disney races. So maybe we could talk a little bit about each of our love of Disney or Run Disney or some combo thereof. Who wants to go first? Caitlin?
All right, yeah, I was gonna say I'll go first because I think arguably I'm the biggest Disney adult here because I actually worked for the company, so I did my Disney college program back in 2017, and that was a really fun experience. Really, I just wanted the name tag. That's all.
Oh.
I just wanted that cast member name tag because when I was a little kid, we used to go to Disney all the time. It was almost an annual thing until I hit middle school, and then my mom said that school was too important to miss at that point, and then we started going not as frequently. But when I was a little kid, I really just wanted that cast member name tag. And my mom said, nope, I'm not going to buy that for you. You just got to work there instead. So I remembered that. And that was why I applied. Because I wanted that name tag. For real. Like elementary school Caitlin, probably 7-year-old Caitlin was like, all right, bet, we're doing it. I'm getting that name tag. I still have it. I still have the frame too. I bought the little name tag frame.
Oh.
And I know I really need to put that name tag in that frame and put it up on the wall. I'm making a little Disney gallery wall of all of my Disney artwork in our new house. So it's going to be, my husband's not the biggest Disney fan, but he's allowing me like one square of Disney for the house. But yeah, I'd say the love of Disney started very, very early. I do remember working at Disney, and for all of the Run Disney weekends, there was always like an email and announcements going out to cast members saying, hey, just be aware it's a Run Disney weekend, and so there's going to be a lot of traffic and roads being closed. And I do remember being annoyed by all of those Run Disney weekends.
How the tables have turned.
I know, because especially when I was deployed, that's what it's called at Disney, when you get sent from one work location to another. That's literally what it's called. I was deployed from Blizzard Beach because it was January and the water park was closed for the winter and their regular maintenance. And I was deployed to Magic Kingdom. And so when you work at Magic Kingdom, you have to get to work super, super early because you have to change buses. You have to walk through the utilidors to get to your work location. And you enter Magic Kingdom in the very back of the park behind what is now Storybook Circus. And I was working at Main Street, not the Emporium, but the other side, like the confectionery, that side of Main Street.
Tasty.
So it was a good 15-minute walk to get to work, and you have to clock in early. You also have to change buses. So you basically, on a regular weekend when there's no traffic, you want to leave like a good hour before your shift is going to start. So they were like, make sure you're leaving like an extra hour before to account for all the traffic. So literally it would take 2 hours to get to work on a Run Disney weekend. And I was like, I hate these people. Why are they running through the park?
For joy. That's what. For joy.
Right. Exactly. My shift starts at like 3 o'clock, and I'm like trying to leave the apartment at like 12:30 to get onto the bus at like 1-ish, something like that. Oh man, it was rough. But now look at us. Now we're running Run Disney.
What about you, Natalie? How'd you
Man,
fall in love?
with the mouse in general, I'm gonna slowly blame my mom for that. No, my nursery. I learned actually recently that my nursery was Minnie Mouse themed, and I think it's been a piece of that since.
It was subconsciously imprinted on your brain from the beginning. Then,
I mean, my nursery was Winnie the Pooh themed, so.
Oh, that's so cute.
Mine was not Disney.
I have the benefit of being a second child. So what older brother got to do, I'm the middle child, but what older brother got to do, I got to do. So we went to Disney first when I was a little under 2 years old, so was still free. And really, it was apparently it was uncharacteristically a little wild down there, addled by the heat in a little way, because my parents we went in the summer, and honestly, it's just been a lot of happy memories there since. Really,
do you
as an
remember
adult,
this trip from 2 years old?
No.
Okay.
You'd have to try to force memories out of me in a way where you could probably convince me remembering like that I went to SeaWorld and saw not Shamu, because Shamu's been dead since 1973. They're just other Shamus. This is something I learned in 2019, and it's lived rent-free in my brain since.
That documentary, that Blackfish documentary on Netflix, though, was that it?
No, that's not how I learned about it. But around the same time, there's a lot of lore behind that of why there was a fixation on Shamu in a way. And that had to do with my job at the time. Anyway, but we took a lot of trips down there as a family. As an adult, I remember, after I was like graduating college, actually backtracking a little bit, my first touch point with Run Disney was before even my cousin sent me that faded message about 5 years ago. But I remember being there we had this thing called J-Term at our college that we all three went to. And you could take like a winter semester of classes, which I usually did. And the winter semester being a 3-week semester of cram course, where you really only could take 1, maybe 2 classes at the time. Or you got a 6-week Christmas break. Only one time did I take the 6-week Christmas break, and my mom and I went to Disney during that time. And I remember there being some weirdly high crowds the weekend before MLK. So I was like, wow, I'm really surprised. I'm like, who are these people with medals on? And we learned that we had stumbled upon Marathon Weekend. We did not get impacted at all. So we must have been at Magic Kingdom on Marathon Sunday, because pretty much the marathon is donezo through Magic Kingdom by that point. The traffic and impacts of that are not, but by the time that the park opens, based on what I know now. But it was like, oh, interesting, runners around. But as an adult, I had an opportunity to actually go out to the West Coast to Disneyland. I was going to a training in Manhattan Beach, California, and I learned that was very close to Disneyland. So I flew out a couple days early, got to go to Disney, went to Disney for the first time ever by myself, because I'd always been with my family, both my parents, siblings, etc. So it was that was, as an adult, how we really I really fostered that love of Disney. I always had it. It was always part of me, but kind of rediscovering that and getting to go on my own, and knowing that was around the time Star Wars Land and on the West Coast had opened, it was super cool to, my cousin again, enabler number one, and had told me like, oh, like, you got to go to Galaxy's Edge. Tell me how this is. Tell me how that is. And she was a lot more studied at the time than I was, where I was, 3 weeks before this training, I was like, I'm going to try to fly a little early. And I'm going to take my screenshots and justify that, like, it was the same cost, because I would obviously be responsible for my own hotel for extra nights. It was the same cost or cheaper for me to do that, and then get myself to Anaheim from there. But it was super cool, and being able to, discover a Disney park also as an adult, for the first time. And yeah, at that point, that was a little bit after actually the Run Disney had come into, or kind of being registered for the race and stuff, but it's really stuck around since. And get into kind of what the Run Disney background is, expand on that in a little bit. So Hannah, I think you're up now.
Are we talking about our love of Disney? Because I've got lost along the way.
Yeah, my bad.
Okay.
That turned into a little rambly.
No, it was great. I loved it. I think, I'm trying to remember. I mean, we went as a family when I was growing up. I think we went 2 or 3 times throughout my childhood. Living in the Midwest, as you guys can relate to, is not like the optimal place to go on vacation really anywhere. Especially when you have a big family. Like, I'm one of 4 kids, so we had to drive everywhere. We could not afford to be flying all of us around all the time. A lot of road trips and that. So when we went, I know we went one time that I don't remember. We have family photos and albums and stuff. When I was like maybe like 4 or 5, and my sister was at that like 2 years old, because I'm the oldest of the 4. And then I know we went when I was in elementary school, probably when I was in like 4th grade, and I do remember that trip like vaguely. That's probably like right on the cusp of things I can actually remember as an adult. But the reason I remember it so well is because at that point, by then, all 4 kids had been born. My brother was like still an infant, I think, but we all road tripped it to South Carolina first, to my grandparents' house, and they dropped my 2 youngest siblings to be babysitted by grandma and grandpa. So then just the oldest 2, we went to Disney with my parents. And I remember feeling like it was so exciting because we weren't going to have to deal with all this stuff, because that's that time where your parents, like, that was like peak learning that not all the attention is for you anymore, kind of. Like, really having to come to grips with it. And so, like, my mom wasn't going to have to deal with, like, my little brother, who was an infant and obviously needed all of the attention. And they surprised us. Like, we didn't know we were going to Disney, and they showed up to the elementary school and, like, pulled us out of class in the middle of the day, and we're like, we're going to Disney. Like, the car was packed. They put us in the car. Like, it was the dream of, like, what they show in, like, kids commercials or whatever. I don't know, but it felt like
so cute.
Super magical.
Literally, as a teacher, I 100% like, I agree. Like, I would not be mad if a parent came in and they were like, I'm taking my kid to Disney. Like, I don't like the teachers who get annoyed with those types of parents. I'd be like, oh my God, that's amazing. How fun.
It was a really good experience.
Yes.
Yeah, right? Oh my gosh. Now that I say that out loud, I'm sure my mom will hear this and be like, that's not how that went down. But in my mind, it is. So
it's okay.
It was wonderful.
We can keep it like that.
I remember loving, I've always loved, oh my God, the Buzz Lightyear ride, Space Mountain. I don't know if I was big enough for Space Mountain back then, but like that was my favorite land. That's always been like my favorite area. And that was really where it began. When I went to college, I think it was just sort of like rode in the back for a while, because when I went to college, every year for spring break, I tried to talk my friend group into going to Disney for spring break. I was like, well, everyone's going to Florida anyways. Let's just go to Orlando instead of Miami, or like instead of going on a cruise, let's go to Disney. But Disney's a little pricey on a college budget for most people. and I was very creative in like trip planning and trying to figure out how to make it the most cost effective, but I could never quite get it into the college budget, which is a bit of a bummer. So most of the times we ended up going on like a Royal Caribbean cruise, but I tried so hard to do it. And then I met my boyfriend and we just started doing Run Disney, and I think he's secretly might be a bigger Disney fan than me and doesn't want me to know. You never know. He has you guys won't be able to see it on film, so I'll describe it for you. Oh, hold on. I dropped the bobblehead, sort of. It's okay. So what I'm going to describe to you is a vintage Mickey Mouse bobblehead. And Mickey is in an old school football jersey, like full outfit, like back when they wore leather helmets, not the hardcore stuff. And
love him.
He has this on his desk. He looks at it every day. I do not have Disney memorabilia on my desk, so I think this is the sign. And he wanted to wear Disney clothing before I wanted to wear Disney clothing, so it's fate.
That's
really.
true love right there.
Yeah, so that's how I came to love Disney.
Surprisingly, my husband does wear the Disney merch that I get him, but his only thing is that he only will wear one piece of Disney merch. So like he has that dry fit Nike Disney hat.
I want that hat.
It's a good hat, and he wore it for our last Disney trip, but he will not wear it with a Disney shirt.
Okay, so he won't compound the merch.
Exactly.
Got it.
So like the next day, one of our trips, maybe it was a different trip, he wore a Disney shirt that I got him. And I was like, oh, aren't you going to wear your Disney hat with this? And he was like, no, only one piece of Mickey Mouse merch at a time. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I respect it.
Yeah, it's the only one not wearing ears right now. I know. Scandal.
Well, I like this. I feel like I can wear my Disney park merch even though I'm nowhere near the parks.
Yes, this will be our little bit of magic each week. But yeah, I've recently fell in love and started buying tons of Disney Spirit jerseys because there's, well, not always, but a lot of them are sparkly and I like that.
Ooh.
But maybe we should talk about our Run Disney race portfolio, I guess, is that our resume. Like, which races has everyone run?
I already talked about mine. I've done 2 weekends. I did Springtime Surprise 2022, and then 2023 was my running hiatus because of my wedding. Everybody thought I was going to get injured before my wedding.
That would have been bad.
Joke's on me, I was injured 2024 Princess Weekend when I did the Fairy Tale Princess Challenge, the 10K and the half. But I did it for Natalie, so it's okay.
We do a lot of things for Natalie. We love you. Natalie, you want to go next?
All right, my CV is a little long, so I don't know if you want to take it first, and then I'll...
Okay, yeah, I'll go first because I also only have 2. I ran let's see if I can get the year right this time. I always mess it up. The 2023 10-miler Springtime Surprise Weekend. Then I ran last year. I did the, or this year, I guess, what is time? The 2024 Princess Weekend. I did the whole challenge again for Natalie. Also, I'm competitive and I want to do more every single time. I've also run the Chicago Marathon, which I also did in 2023. So it goes like 10-miler Chicago Marathon, then Princess. And yeah, that's all I've done. We have more coming up though. For sure. All right, Natalie.
All right, let's get into it. Let her. Like, do I go by weekend? How many times I've done it? No. So I started with Princess 2020, did the 10K. Then, after signing up for almost every weekend that got canceled during COVID, I came back for Princess 2022. I did the Fairy Tale Challenge because what is running a half marathon without a 10K the day before? And it was my very first half marathon ever. came back just 5 weeks after that for Springtime Surprise in 2023. The challenge there encompasses the 5K, the 10K. Sorry, that was in 2022. I did get to 2023 as well, but that's on the line. That encompasses the 5K, 10K, and 10 miler for springtime. Was a challenge participant, the inaugural one. A lot of fun. Where Caitlin and I saw each other after the race. Then I got this crazy idea. Just absolutely bonkers after having actually a rough 10 miler. And I remember having an existential crisis in the Ratatouille bathrooms during the 10 miler of like, this is not going well. And what did I do 2 weeks later? I signed up for Dopey. So that was my very first marathon.
All of our personality to a T, though.
Yeah, I actually came across before I even got to Princess in 2022. So again, this is before my first half marathon. Came across a screenshot of the Dopey training plan recently, just to keep that in mind. And so I signed up for Dopey, knowing it would be my very first marathon in 2023. Completed Dopey in 2023. Also did Princess that year. That time I did all three, where I did the Fairy Tale Challenge, which is the 10K and the half, added on the 5K as well. I also did Springtime Surprise in 2023. That's where Hannah did the 10 miler. I did the challenge. Then I also did Wine and Dine in 2023. This is when Perfect Season and whatnot was kind of coming on the line. I did not do one of those because I didn't do Wine and Dine in 2022 because the Run Disney season at this point in time, I don't think it's going to change that much, but it could, speaking to the future. Starts with its fall races and goes into the spring ones, so it's not a calendar year, but I did do Wine and Dine in 2022. I had a baby shower that weekend, so I wasn't even going to evaluate my opportunities for last-minute charity bibs. But anyway, I did it in 2023, though, so I had a nice, perfect 2023. It was my golden 2023, because that was actually, my golden birthday was, it was my golden year. My golden birthday was in 2022, so I did every Run Disney race. I'm not saying I planned it that way. I didn't. It just kind of happened, which, again, that's another personality trait of mine. And speaking of things kind of just happening, I wasn't supposed to do marathon weekend in 2024. I bypassed registration in April. And then I start my summer running. I'm like, this is the year of half marathons, okay? Training for a marathon is a time commitment. Training for a half marathon is also a time commitment. But, when you're staring down the barrel of 15 plus miles on your training calendar, it just hits different, okay? It just does. And I told myself that 2020, that my season was going to be half marathons only, okay? I was going to do Wine and Dine, Disneyland, Princess, half marathons only. Of course, the challenge, because we're not taking that far of a step back. And then we're training for Wine and Dine, having a really good training, and I just go a little feral. And I start looking into, I'm like, well, I really want to do another full. And just to also kind of why were you so much busier this other year? I also just got married. I got married less than 2 months ago, even at the point where you're listening to this. So I knew that I had wedding planning. I knew I had my wedding all coming down the pipeline for me. So, that was part of the decision of halves only. We're focusing on the half marathon distance. And beyond the idea of I start looking into a local half here in Nebraska, local full. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to run or have to because I would then have to be up to 13 as my training mile threshold at that point. And long story short, there was a point in time in August of 2023 where bibs reopened for marathon weekend for a couple hours. And I sat there at my desk at work with the Run Disney website with everything filled in. I'm just staring. I'm staring at it. I'm texting my friends. I'm not texting my fiance at the time because he's at work, so he couldn't respond anyway. And I go, oh, shoot. And by this point, so since it was so late that I got a bib, I had seen medals already. So not only...
That's never good for your decision making.
And my favorite of the three were the half, the full, and Goofy. Those were my favorite of the three. I'm like, oh, wow, those are super cute. Like, dang. And so I'm sitting at my desk, and I watch Dopey go, and I'm like, that's not realistic for this year anyway. And I'm sitting, and I'm looking at the half. I'm looking at Goofy, and I'm looking at the marathon. And what I then kind of, as I'm like, palms are sweating, just sitting there, like, trying to make this decision. Of course, all my enabler friends are like, do another full. And I then time out. By the time I'm starting to book a hotel room to, like, kind of, make sure I have somewhere to sleep that's not the Epcot parking lot, it times out, and I go, dang. I talked to my mom that night, whatever. I'm like, yeah, they kind of staying, like, I was like, they opened bibs. It was for a couple hours, because usually when they open, it's for, like, a lightning amount of time, like, a couple minutes, then the bib closes. And she's like, oh, I would do it. I'm like, oh, shoot. That sounds like permission. Not that I needed permission, but, I was like, shoot, that sounds good. So, we have another couple of times where lightning strikes, the marathon reopens. I try to get it, I strike out. I try to get it, I strike out. Goofy opens. I try to get it, I hit a home run. So again, I'm sitting at my desk at work. Palms are sweaty. And I turn around to my boss. I go, Carl, I just signed up for a marathon. He goes, again? And I was only a couple months into working at that job, but he's heard a little too much and had to entertain a little too much about my running journey. And I'm like, yep. He's like, are you doing it alone this time? I go, nope. Because the Goofy challenge is the half and then the full the next day. So just, quote unquote, we don't just here, but 39.3 miles. A little bit of a uniqueness to Goofy in 2024 and Marathon Weekend is that Disneyland was directly following it. So I was doing the half and the full at Walt Disney World. And then the next weekend was the 5K, the 10K, the half at Disneyland. And it was the inaugural, re-inaugural, I should say, the comeback, the return to Disneyland for Run Disney races, the first time in 7 years. That was a time in my life. It was a ton of fun. I don't have a lot of things where it's like, oh, I don't know if I would do that again, but Goofy to Dumbo, Gumbo affectionately called, is one of those where I'd have to think long and hard about doing that again. It was just really, it being, not that it wasn't fun, it was just that it was hard on my body. She says, having ripped PRs in both weekends. But, and then my most recent Run Disney race was Princess in 2024, the Fairy Tale Challenge. And finally, after 7 half marathons, because what happened during Goofy this year was that it was a rain-shortened race for the half. So it was 7.1. So finally, we thought half marathon number 5 was going to be the one where I finally ran a half marathon without a race the day before. Nope, because it wasn't a half marathon. I finally got smart enough, and I ran a local half this March, and I finally took me till lucky number 7 to realize, oh shoot, you got a lot of juice left in your legs when you didn't run the day before, or you only ran your 3 miles and you didn't run around Disney the day before. Absurd.
Lucky number 7 for your St. Patrick's Day run. That's cool.
It was.
Aww. Nice.
So the CV is long, and only growing.
Yeah, Natalie brings the Run Disney expertise. Caitlin brings the insider knowledge as a previous cast member, and I bring organization. I don't know.
Oh, yes. I know. I love doing these Run Disney races now because parts of the races are backstage. And then I go, oh yeah, that's where I had my lunch. That's where we would sit and eat. That's where I sat and had an existential crisis because I had a shift that went until like 2 in the morning.
Oof.
Throwback to when Magic Kingdom would be open until midnight, and then they would keep the shops open because I did merchandise at Magic Kingdom. They'd keep the shops open for like an hour after park closing, and then we'd have to do all of our closing duties, and that would take like a good hour after the park closed. So I was like always working like 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. That was like my regular shift.
That was my favorite time to be at the parks when I was, even like back then in like elementary school, middle school age, whatever I was, because back then you could still do, they had extended evening hours for resorts and not just deluxe like it is now. And so
I know, I miss those days.
I had no bedtime. My parents were letting me eat all the sugar and there were no lines.
Yes. And then the fireworks. Oh, Disney at night just hits different.
Yeah. I keep telling Ben that I just like, we go every year because we go of these races, but we've never been for either a not so scary Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party or for a Very Merry Christmas yet.
I've never seen Christmas, but I have done the Not So Scary. I know I need to do Very Merry this year. Wine and Dine. I'm already signed up because of Natalie. I know we don't say only, but I'm only doing the half for Wine and Dine. I've been making my Run Disney decisions based on school calendar, and so that is a presidential like election weekend or something. So it's a 4-day weekend anyway, and I'm gonna fly down and do the half and go to the after party. So we gotta do some sort of Christmas thing. Because I think this year they're turning it over from Halloween to Christmas, like November 1st.
We should all go together, get a villa or something, split it.
Yes. Well, we gotta do Natalie's bridesmaid reunion, bridal party reunion. That's like January 2025. That's marathon weekend, baby. And that one as well. I really wanted to do Dopey with you guys. But this year it did not line up with the school calendar. And I'm so mad at myself for not doing Dopey 2024 because I wouldn't have had to take any time off. Our Christmas break lined up perfectly and I didn't do it. And now this year it doesn't line up perfectly. So I don't know. My husband and I were just looking at like the $700 registration fee and then missing, like, I only get 3 days off of work. So I was like, I don't know if I could make this work. So that's why I'm only doing the marathon, quote unquote, only. But I am really excited. Oh, did we even announce that we're doing?
No, this is our transition.
Yay! Our future Run Disney races. Yes. So marathon weekend 2025. We're getting the girls together. We're doing it. I'm doing the marathon. Let's see. Marissa's not running. Tori's gonna run. Right?
Yes. Some of our characters here.
Yes.
But yes, we have.
Hannah's
Marissa will be
Dopey. She will be there for emotional support. So
yes,
Hannah
and
Natalie,
giving me a beer
at Dopey.
Yes.
So my question:
one person go.
Sorry. Okay. But I have a question. If Goofy to Dumbo is called Gumbo, what is Dopey to do? Dumbo to what is it?
Dopey to Dumbo. I think it's
so.
Just
what would
Dopey
that be
to Dumbo.
Called?
They just called it Dopey to Dumbo, but I like Goofy to Dumbo, Gumbo.
I love that.
Or some people called it Dopey-fornia last year.
Okay.
That's cute.
All right.
I like it.
Yeah. So Natalie, what's the full cast of characters we have coming for our race of everyone for Dopey 2025 marathon weekend?
Okay, so we have Natalie, that's me, doing Dopey. Actually,
which is, we should tell everyone what that is.
Oh yeah, the big cheese, the big thing. It is a 5K, then a 10K the next day, then a half marathon the day after that, and then it's a marathon. You do not get halfway through the Dopey challenge until you're in mile 2 of the marathon.
Don't say that. I didn't need that in my brain.
No, it feels good. Everyone like kind of turns around and goes, "Guys!" Except everybody cries a little because it's like mile 2 of the marathon. So,
Okay,
I
so
loved that
we've got
sign
you.
last year where somebody had a sign at the end of the 10K and they go, the sign said, "You're halfway there," and somebody else had a sign right next to them and it said, "She's not good at math."
that's funny. That's super funny. But so me, a character. As far as guaranteed characters go, we have Marissa. Marissa's said cousin, enabler number 1. She's going to be there for moral support. She was actually there for my very first Dopey too. So she caught me and entering Epcot with our other friend Adam, but they caught me and then they went to the finish line and did catch me at the finish line too. So we have a potential supporting character in the name of Mr. Natalie. We're working on it. We're working on it with him maybe coming down for the second half of marathon weekend. Just because it's probably mean to wake him up for 4 days of Dopey. Although he probably really wouldn't mind. He's a little bit newer to the Disney, as a side tangent for just a second. He's a little bit newer we went on our mini moon to Disney just in the last month. And that was the first time he went since he was a kid. So we're easing him in to, we can't go full park days with him yet. Stuff like that. Because he's more there for the vibes and the good times and the good food and whatnot than he is going on rides so much. So he's there for good theming. He's there for that. So I would be kind of probably mean to wake him up at 2 a.m, 4 days in a row. So he's a potential supporting character. We also have Tori. Tori was one of my other bridesmaids at my wedding. She's doing the half at marathon weekend along with her partner Kate, and so super excited for that. And then as far as other supporting characters, that's it for now. But
other main characters include me, also running Dopey, and Caitlin running the marathon. And then you guys also have another race coming up that I will not be at, which is
we whining and we dining.
Yes.
I'm
Wine
so
and
jealous.
dine.
I want to go to
You
Wine
should
and Dine,
come.
not even necessarily for the race, just for the food at Epcot.
Yes.
You
An
should.
after party. I've
Dude,
heard through the grapevine that Wine and Dine is one of the best run Disney weekends, and I've never been, so I'm super, super excited.
After this, because I've done Springtime and Princess, this will check off. It'll be the last one at Disney World specifically to check off. So we shall see.
I don't know if I would ever go out to California to do a Run Disney race.
I
So
really want them to reopen the ones at Disneyland Paris. Personally, I would very much like to run there.
true. Going back to our, how do we start loving Disney? My mom had a business trip back in April of 1997 to Paris, France. And she always says that if it had been my dad going to the actual business meetings and her and I, if we had been hanging out, almost 2-year-old Caitlin, she would have taken me to Disneyland Paris, and that would have been my first Disney park. I know.
Iconic.
I know. But no, we had to wait until August of 1997, and I was almost 2, just shy of turning 2. We went to Disney World in Florida, and that was my very first Disney trip ever with the iconic castle cake.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
good.
Yep.
All right. Well, I mean, we've been
Mhm.
talking for a while. I think last thing we want to cover to wrap it up for us is why are we doing this?
Oh,
think-
I ask
I think-
myself that every single day sometimes.
I think for me,
because
I mean, obviously we all love running. We all love Disney. So that's pretty no-brainer.
I
But
love about running is
okay, well, we love
that you
running at
use that
Disney.
word very liberally to say that we love running.
Caitlin, you agreed to be on a running podcast. So
You know-
you must not hate it that much.
I just like talking.
That's fair. That really does bring us into focus. For us, I think the big inspiration was that we have a group chat, the 3 of us. We talk about this stuff all the time anyways. So instead of just texting back and forth like every day, we figure might as well get on and see each other's faces, hear each other's voices, and talk about what we love. And now we're bringing you guys along for the ride.
Doot doot.
All right. Do we
Is
have
that
an
Steamboat
outro?
Willie?
Yes, it is
Do we have an
Steamboat
outro?
Willie. It wasn't, but it is
Okay.
now.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And until our next adventure, we're wishing you endless miles of magic and memories. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.